I am sorry. Do you know how to form an appropriate apology? There's so many different steps involved when it comes to actually apologizing appropriately. So one of the first things you do have to realize is that you make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Every single one of us makes mistakes in our life. And as a result, we have to own up to those mistakes, whatever that they are. And for us to do that, we have to realize what our mistakes are. If we're not willing to look at what we've done wrong and actually see the mistakes that we're making, then how can we possibly apologize appropriately? So think about times that you have made mistakes within your life, that things have not gone as anticipated, and you do something that is perhaps an impulsive decision or it is a bad decision and you end up hurting someone else and you cause some problems. Are you going to own up to those mistakes that you've caused? Or are you going to be someone that's like, I don't make any mistakes. I'm not the culprit here who's causing the problems. Or perhaps you have a friend or family member who comes out to you and expresses their concerns about something that you have done that have hurt them in some way. Are you going to actually sit down and listen to them, listen to what they have to say? Or are you going to just pass it off and say, I don't make any mistakes? So that is step number one when it comes to forming an appropriate apology. Okay, and that is realizing what your mistakes are. What are the mistakes that you have made in this situation that have caused problems with the other person, that have caused some sort of tension or conflict or things along those lines? You have to be willing to admit that you're wrong about something. I know how hard that this is to do because we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to admit that we've done something wrong. We don't want to admit that we are at fault, especially when it comes to more serious matters. So we don't really want to give a genuine apology in the sense that we are actually admitting something wrong about us or that we made a mistake. We also don't want to make mistakes within our own life and our own decisions that we have made. If you make a decision, you always want to think, oh, it's the best decision for me. When that's not always the case either. It could be a decision that you make that is actually very detrimental to your overall health and well-being, but you will continue to stick in your mind like, oh, this was the best decision, sticking to that line of denial, not realizing what your mistakes are. And as a result, you won't really be able to learn and grow from that. That's really step number one when it comes to forming an appropriate apology. What have you done wrong in this situation that has caused problems? What is the conflict here that has arisen as a result of your actions? Now, on the flip side of this, when you are apologizing, if you're saying, I'm sorry, if you're saying, sorry, 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 if you're constantly saying that you're sorry all the time, that is also a problem because we are not necessarily always wrong all the time, or you could be insecure about yourself, so you think everything is a problem that you've done, everything is your fault, and you're constantly making mistakes and whatever. That's also another major problem. You have to realize that there is appropriate balance of admitting that you're wrong about something, taking the responsibility, saying that you have made this mistake, as opposed to you constantly blaming yourself again and again and again. So there is a balance there that you really have to rationalize and really see, what are you doing wrong? What is the problem here? Okay. So what is the next step when it comes to forming an appropriate apology? When you say I'm sorry, well, look, just that word itself, sorry, the language that you're using. We're going to discuss this more in depth in the next part, but the language that you use when you're forming an apology is very, very important. So pay attention to the terms that you're using, the words that you're using, the things that you're saying to get your point across when it comes to you forming this apology. If you're not willing to actually speak from the heart, it's not genuine. But as I said, we will discuss more in depth about this in the next segment. Change your ways after you apologize. This is also another major key point when it comes to apologizing, because when you apologize for something that you've done wrong, it means nothing if you don't change your actions, if you don't change your ways following the apology. Let's just say you have hurt someone's feelings by doing a particular action. And perhaps you are always late to show up at their home or go out with them or something along those lines. You're always late, and you're constantly apologizing for that. Sorry for being so late. I will be on time next time. And you never are. You're always late, you're always behind. All this sort of stuff keeps happening again and again and again. To this person that you're dealing with, they are going to be like, this person is not genuine when they say, I'm sorry. How could they possibly view you? How could they possibly view you saying that you're sorry is genuine if all you do is keep repeating the same mistake again and keep apologizing again? It's like, how many times do they need to hear from you that you're sorry for something, and for you to actually change your ways and actually stick to what you said you were going to do? If you said you were going to meet them at this time and you're late, you said it'll never happen again, and it happens again, it happens again, it keeps happening. You're not changing your ways at that point. So you have to be the one to change your behavior so that when you actually say that you're sorry and that something will never happen again, that it indeed will never happen again to that degree. You have to change your ways in order to actually move past that point within your life. Move past the point of you being stuck in that cycle where you just keep apologizing for the same actions again and again and again, and it's not getting anywhere. So when you apologize, make an effort to actually change your ways so that you're in a much more positive space and you're able to actually deal with the problems at hand. That you're able to actually stick with what you had planned when it comes to the apology. In addition, if you really want to be sincere with your apology as well, maybe you want to take another step forward. Maybe you want to do kind gestures for the other person because you want to show them that you truly mean that you are sorry for your actions, for the things that you have done wrong. Now, there's many different kind gestures you can do. Maybe if you're constantly late all the time, maybe you offer to take the person out somewhere, out to eat somewhere, and then you will pay for it. Or you give them a nice gift or something along those lines. But you can do all that and try to make amends, but still, if you do not change your ways about the situation, how is that going to help in any sort of way? It's really not. So you have to be the one to change your ways and do the proper kind gestures to really get the point across that you are sincere with your apology. So to wrap up this particular segment here, you do have to realize what you've done wrong. So for this person who's constantly late all the time, constantly giving excuses as to why they are late, they have to pay attention to what language that they're using. Are they actually giving an appropriate reason as to why they are late all the time? There is no appropriate reason when it keeps happening again and again and again. Maybe once or twice is okay, but when it keeps happening and this person is not changing, then you're really not sincere. So if you really want to be sincere with your apology, realize where you've gone wrong. Use the appropriate language. Start changing a lot of your ways, how you're handling the situation. Go out of your way to make things right again. And then you can move past a lot of this conflict, and the other person can actually view you as someone who is reliable, who is able to admit when they're wrong about something, and you will be a much more respectable person. Other people will respect you far more when you're actually able to admit that you're wrong. It does not make you a weak person admitting that you're wrong. It may seem like it does, because you don't want to bring yourself down. You don't want to say, I'm wrong about this, and feel as though you are weak and inferior. But that's not really what is happening here. Instead, what is happening is that you're showing that you don't really have much strength because you're not able to see what your own weaknesses are. What makes you strong is you being able to see what your weaknesses are and then change those so that they become strengths, so that you're able to be persistent in accomplishing what your goals are, that you're able to see what the mistakes that you've made are and actually find a way to remedy them, find a way to manage them. So for example, if you're late all the time, if you're constantly late all the time, going places, maybe that's a reflection of yourself that you're not managing your time appropriately. So once you begin to manage your time appropriately, then that's a skill that you have now learned, that you're managing your time and you're becoming more on time and things are starting to be much better for you. So just think about these things and how you can deal with them. So we would talk about the appropriate language to use. It can be body language as well as the words that you use in our next segment.